A crinoline is a rigid, very voluminous frame for a skirt, which became popular in the middle of the 19th century. Puffy skirts can be found in a variety of eras, starting with the Minoan. However, as a rule, only aristocratic women could afford such luxurious outfits. Crinoline fever of the 19th century, for the first time in history, embraced all social strata. Noble ladies and representatives of the working class were all crazy about this fashionable innovation. Now it seems strange, because a woman in such clothes becomes clumsy, and simple actions, for example getting on public transport, become incredibly difficult. Why did crinolines become so popular? Today, it seems to many that an uncomfortable crinoline is a symbol of a woman's enslavement. However, if we study the reviews of contemporaries in detail, we can easily find that the crinoline was a means of emancipation. That is why he was adored by women and hated by men. Firstly, the need for petticoats disappeared. Ladies could wear up to 6 to 8 petticoats to add volume to the dress. It was extremely difficult to move in so many petticoats. They were narrow and heavy. In addition, it was unhygienic, especially in the heat. The crinoline, made using new technologies, was lightweight, flexible, and more comfortable than all previous means of adding volume to the skirt. The woman was not constrained by anything when walking. Of the linen, the lady needed only pantaloons, and some did without them at all. This piquant detail came to light during the visit of the Italian king Victor Emmanuel to France. One of the court ladies tripped over her own crinoline and fell, exposing the lower part of her body, not covered by underwear. Seeing this, the king said to Empress Eugénie, "Madame, I'm glad to see that your ladies don't wear pantaloons, and thus leave the gates of heaven always open." The second reason why the crinoline was gladly worn not only by aristocrats, but also by working women, was that it served as a protection against male harassment and unwanted touch. A woman seemed to fence off her personal space with a crinoline, and it was much more difficult for a man to penetrate it without permission. The mothers were less worried about their daughters because their bodies were dressed in crinoline cells. To remove this structure, it took time and certain skills, which reduced the risk that some insidious man would seduce an innocent young lady. In addition to men, the crinoline protected its owner from infections and diseases, creating distance. Some modern historians are too categorical in their assessment of the crinoline and believe that the woman in it was like a bird in a cage. But if everything was so bad, why would it be worn by commoners? The third reason for the love of women and the hatred of men is that the crinoline took up a lot of space and made a woman more voluminous and significant. "You must reckon with me," this woman's outfit seems to tell us. Men, of course, did not like it terribly. It seemed to them that crinolines were supplanting them, and this bitter feeling gave rise to a lot of caricatures. In this picture, we see a woman of monstrous proportions towering over a crowd of men, and in this drawing, the man gives up the entire staircase to the lady. It is forced behind the railing and balances on the edge of the step. The fourth reason for its popularity is that the crinoline equalized women from different social classes. The Industrial Revolution made it cheaper to produce, so there was no woman who could not afford it. In this caricature, the hostess is extremely annoyed by the fact that her maid is wearing a crinoline and demands that she take it off. Well, the last reason is that helped the woman hide her secrets, for example, imperfections of the figure. There were also many suspicions in society that ladies masked unwanted pregnancy with a crinoline. This is a rather controversial statement, but doctors of that time criticized crinolines in the press, believing that such clothes are confusing and do not give true information about the condition of a woman, which makes it easier to get rid of an unwanted child. The crinoline was also used for smuggling. Newspapers of that time report that jewelry, fabrics, haberdashery, tobacco, alcohol, tea, etc. were transported under wide skirts. Men were dissatisfied with crinolines. Some women were also against it. Florence Nightingale considered this style of dress useless, and the sound it made was annoying for patients. She also thought that a nurse in a crinoline looked too swaggering, like an opera actress on stage, and that was completely out of place in a hospital. One way or another, the crinoline increased the weight of women in society. It was very difficult not to reckon with a lady in a crinoline.